Rachel was 38 years old when the message arrived that made her hands tremble. She was sitting at the small kitchen table with her laptop open and a cup of coffee slowly cooling beside her. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that usually felt peaceful after a long day of work. Then her phone buzzed. She picked it up and saw Owen's name on the screen. Her husband had been on what he called a business trip for 3 days. The message was short and casual, as if he were asking her to pick up groceries. "Hey Rachel, I used the savings for my vacation. You'll need to reimburse me for your half when I get back." Rachel stared at the message, convinced she had misunderstood it. Slowly she opened their banking app and checked the savings account she and Owen had built together for almost 10 years. The number on the screen made her stomach drop. The balance showed $0. Just 2 days earlier, the account had held $60,000. Her hands shook as she refreshed the page again and again, hoping the numbers would magically return. They didn't. Instead, she saw a series of transactions: airline tickets, a luxury resort, spa reservations, and private excursions. Each charge carried Owen's name. Rachel whispered to herself, "No, he wouldn't do that. Not with our future." That money was not just savings to Rachel. It was 10 long years of sacrifice packed into a single number. She remembered the extra shifts she had taken at the hospital when Owen wanted to change careers. She remembered skipping vacations, skipping new clothes, and saying no to small luxuries because they were saving for something bigger. Their dream had been a home by the lake someday. Owen used to talk about it all the time. "Just wait, Rachel," he would say, smiling across the dinner table. "One day we'll wake up and drink coffee looking over the water." Now that dream had been replaced by a series of hotel charges. Rachel's phone buzzed again. Another message from Owen appeared, this time with a photo attached. The picture showed him sitting beside a bright blue infinity pool with a tropical ocean stretching behind him. He was wearing sunglasses and holding a drink decorated with fruit. Under the picture he wrote, "You should see this place. It's incredible. Totally worth the savings." Rachel felt a strange mix of disbelief and anger rising in her chest. She typed slowly, forcing her hands to stay steady. "Owen, that money belonged to both of us." His reply arrived almost instantly. "Relax. You'll pay me back your half when I return." Rachel sat back in her chair and stared at the wall for a long moment. Part of her wanted to scream into the phone and demand answers immediately. Another part of her wanted to cry until the shock faded away. But instead, something else settled quietly inside her mind. A calm, controlled stillness replaced the panic. She placed the phone gently on the table and folded her hands together. "All right," she whispered softly to the empty room. "If that's the game you want to play." Rachel did not argue with Owen again that night. She did not send another message. Instead, she opened her laptop, took a deep breath, and began planning. Rachel woke early the next morning with a strange clarity that surprised even her. Instead of anger, her mind felt sharp and focused, like someone preparing for an important exam. She sat at the kitchen table with her laptop and opened every financial document she and Owen shared. Credit cards, savings accounts, retirement funds, insurance papers. Everything. She studied each record slowly, writing notes on a yellow legal pad. "If he thinks this is funny," she murmured quietly, "then he clearly doesn't understand what he just started." Rachel noticed something interesting as she reviewed the transactions. Owen had not only used the savings account. He had also opened 2 new credit cards. Rachel leaned closer to the screen and examined the credit card statements carefully. The charges were staggering. First-class airline tickets. A luxury beachfront suite. Private yacht rentals. Expensive restaurants. Spa packages that cost more than a week's groceries. "Wow," Rachel whispered under her breath. "You really went all out, Owen." She noticed the booking confirmation for the resort and clicked on the attached document. The location was a 5-star tropical resort known for celebrity guests and high-end luxury travelers. She pulled up the website and studied the policies carefully. A small line near the bottom of the page caught her attention. It read, "All reservations must remain tied to the primary account holder." Rachel picked up her phone and dialed the number listed on the resort's website. A cheerful voice answered after 2 rings. "Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Paradise Bay Resort. How may I assist you today?" Rachel spoke calmly and politely. "Hello. My name is Rachel Carter. I'm calling about a reservation connected to a joint financial account. The representative paused for a moment before responding. Let me pull that up for you, ma'am. Rachel waited patiently while soft music played through the phone. When the agent returned, she said, Yes, I see the reservation under Owen Carter. Is there a problem with the booking? Rachel smiled slightly even though the agent could not see her. Not exactly a problem, she replied. I just need to verify a few financial details about that reservation. The representative explained the payment schedule and security deposits required for luxury guests. As Rachel listened, she realized something important. Owen had paid only the initial reservation charges. The rest of the expenses, including many excursions and upgrades, would process during his stay. Rachel thanked the agent and ended the call politely. She leaned back in her chair and tapped her pen against the notebook thoughtfully. So, she whispered to herself, the biggest bills haven't even arrived yet. Later that afternoon, Rachel drove to the local bank branch where she and Owen had opened their savings account years earlier. The same bank manager who had helped them start the account still worked there. His name was Mark, and he greeted her warmly as she entered his office. Rachel, it's been a while, he said kindly. How can I help you today? Rachel closed the door behind her and sat down slowly. She placed the printed bank statement on his desk. Mark, she said calmly, my husband just emptied $60,000 from our joint savings account without telling me. Mark's friendly expression faded immediately. I think, Rachel added quietly, we need to talk about protecting the rest of my finances. Mark adjusted his glasses and studied the bank statement carefully while Rachel sat quietly across from his desk. The numbers told the story clearly. A full withdrawal of $60,000 followed by multiple transfers connected to travel companies. Mark looked up with concern. Rachel, I'm really sorry this happened, he said gently. But because it's a joint account, Owen technically had the right to withdraw the funds. Rachel nodded slowly. I figured that, she replied calmly. I'm not here to reverse the withdrawal. Mark looked surprised. Then what would you like to do? Rachel leaned forward slightly. I want to make sure he cannot touch anything else that belongs to me. Mark pulled a blank document toward him and began explaining Rachel's options. You can open a new personal account that only you control, he said. We can also redirect your direct deposits immediately. Rachel listened carefully, asking detailed questions about each step. What about the credit cards connected to our joint financial profile? She asked. Mark typed a few commands into his computer and nodded. You can remove yourself from liability on any cards he opened without your authorization. Rachel felt a small wave of relief wash over her. Good, she said quietly. Because from now on I want every dollar I earn protected. By the time Rachel left the bank, she carried a folder filled with new account paperwork and updated financial records. The afternoon sunlight felt strangely warm on her face as she walked to her car. For a moment she remembered the early years of her marriage when she and Owen used to celebrate small financial victories together. One day we'll laugh about how broke we used to be, Owen had once joked while cooking dinner in their tiny apartment. Rachel sighed softly at the memory. I guess you forgot those days, she murmured. Then she started the car and drove home with quiet determination. That evening Rachel continued her quiet investigation. She opened her laptop again and began searching for the travel agency Owen had used to book the vacation. It did not take long to find them. A luxury travel consultant named Daniel Harper had organized the entire itinerary. Rachel dialed the office number and waited patiently until someone answered. Harper Luxury Travel, this is Daniel speaking. Rachel kept her voice calm and polite. Hello Daniel, my name is Rachel Carter. I'm calling regarding a travel package booked under Owen Carter. There was a brief pause before Daniel replied carefully, Yes, I helped arrange that trip. Is there an issue? Rachel leaned back in her chair as she spoke into the phone. Not exactly an issue, she said gently. I just wanted to understand how the payments were structured for the trip. Daniel explained that Owen had paid an initial deposit using a bank transfer, but several luxury services still required active credit authorization during the stay. Many guests upgrade once they arrive, Daniel added cheerfully. Rachel thanked him for the information and ended the call. After setting the phone down, she stared thoughtfully at the list of upcoming charges. Then a small, controlled smile appeared on her face. Enjoy the resort while you can, Owen, she whispered quietly. Rachel spent the rest of that evening organizing every document she had gathered. She spread the papers across the dining table and studied them carefully under the bright kitchen light. Each receipt, each reservation, each pending charge told part of the story Owen had tried to hide. The more she read, the clearer his plan became. He had assumed she would simply accept what he had done and quietly pay her half when he returned. Rachel shook her head slowly. "You really thought I would just sit here and pay for your vacation," she murmured. She opened her notebook again and wrote one sentence across the top of the page: "Protect everything." The next morning Rachel called the credit card companies connected to their financial profile. One representative after another answered her questions politely. "Yes, Mrs. Carter," one agent said. "We see 2 new credit cards opened under your household account." Rachel kept her voice calm. "Those cards were opened without my authorization," she explained. "I would like to remove myself from any financial responsibility connected to them." The representative typed quietly for several seconds. "Understood," he replied. "We can separate your liability immediately." Rachel thanked him and hung up the phone. She looked at the clock on the wall and whispered softly, "Step by step." Across the ocean, Owen was having the time of his life. He sat beside the resort pool laughing with a group of travelers he had met the night before. A waiter placed another colorful drink beside him while the sound of music drifted across the beach. "You look like a man who knows how to enjoy life," one guest joked. Owen grinned proudly. "You only live once," he replied confidently. He picked up his phone and sent Rachel another message. "You should really see this place. I might extend the trip a few more days." He leaned back in his chair, completely unaware that Rachel was quietly rearranging the financial ground beneath him. Later that afternoon Rachel received another notification from the bank confirming that her salary would now be deposited into her new personal account. She felt a small sense of stability return. "Good," she said softly to herself. Then she opened the shared financial dashboard she and Owen had once used to manage their money together. She removed several automatic connections and updated the account permissions carefully. Every change was small, precise, and completely legal. When she finished, she looked around the quiet house and took a slow breath. "I'm not destroying anything," she whispered. "I'm just protecting what belongs to me." That evening Owen decided to book an exclusive yacht excursion offered by the resort. The brochure promised a private sunset cruise, gourmet dinner, and live music on the water. He walked confidently to the front desk and handed the concierge his credit card. The employee swiped the card and frowned slightly at the screen. "Just a moment, sir," she said politely. She tried again, but the machine made a short error sound. Owen laughed awkwardly. "That's strange. Try it one more time." The concierge looked at him apologetically. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter," she said gently. "Your card has been declined." Owen blinked in confusion and pulled the card back from the concierge's hand. "That doesn't make any sense," he said with a forced laugh. "There must be some kind of mistake." He quickly pulled out his phone and opened his banking app, expecting to see his usual available balance. Instead, a red notification appeared beside several accounts. "Authorization change required." Owen frowned and refreshed the page twice. The numbers looked different. Smaller. Restricted. The concierge waited politely behind the desk while another couple stood in line behind him. "Would you like to try another card, sir?" she asked gently. Owen swallowed and reached into his wallet. He handed over the second card, still confident it would work. "This one should go through," Owen said. The concierge inserted it into the terminal and waited. The machine beeped again, producing the same unpleasant error sound. Her polite smile tightened slightly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter," she repeated. "This one is also declined." Owen felt the back of his neck grow warm as the couple behind him began whispering quietly. He grabbed the card back quickly and stepped away from the desk. "I'll sort it out," he muttered under his breath. As he walked toward the lobby chairs, he immediately dialed Rachel's number. Rachel's phone buzzed while she was sitting peacefully on her living room couch reading through financial documents. Owen's name flashed across the screen. She stared at it for a moment before answering calmly. "Hello." Owen's voice exploded through the phone. "Rachel, what did you do to the accounts?" Rachel kept her tone steady. "What do you mean?" Owen paced the resort lobby in frustration. "My cards are being declined. I can't pay for anything here." Rachel glanced down at the notebook resting beside her. That's strange, she replied quietly. Maybe the bank noticed unusual spending activity. Owen ran a hand through his hair as irritation turned into panic. Rachel, this isn't funny, he snapped. You need to fix this right now. Rachel remained calm. Fix what, Owen? She asked gently. You emptied our savings account. I simply protected the rest of my finances. Owen stopped pacing for a moment. What are you talking about? Rachel sighed softly. I opened a personal account. My salary now goes there. I also removed myself from the credit cards you opened without telling me. There was a long silence on the phone. Then Owen said slowly, You can't just do that. Rachel leaned back comfortably in her chair. Actually, I can, she replied. The bank helped me make sure everything was done legally. Owen's voice rose again. Rachel, I'm stuck at this resort. The remaining charges for the trip haven't even processed yet. Rachel closed her eyes for a moment, almost amused by the irony. You should have thought about that before you spent $60,000 without even asking me, she said quietly. Owen lowered his voice as several guests in the lobby glanced in his direction. Look, maybe we both made mistakes, he muttered. Can you just transfer some money so I can finish the trip? Rachel smiled slightly at the desperation creeping into Owen's voice. Finish the trip? She repeated softly. Owen, that trip was never my responsibility. Owen exhaled sharply. Rachel, come on. Don't do this. Rachel stood and walked slowly toward the window, looking out at the quiet street outside her home. You sent me a message telling me to reimburse you for my share, remember? She said calmly. Owen rubbed his forehead. That was just a joke. Rachel's voice hardened slightly for the first time. No, Owen. It was disrespect. Another long silence filled the call. Finally Owen spoke again, his voice lower now. So what happens when I come home? Rachel answered without hesitation. When you come home, we will sit down and discuss the future of our finances. Owen swallowed. Our finances? Rachel shook her head slowly. No, she corrected him. My finances. The words hung heavily in the air between them. Owen had spent years believing Rachel would always quietly support his decisions. Now the balance had changed. I didn't think it would go this far, he admitted quietly. Rachel responded calmly, neither did I when I saw the empty savings account. That night Rachel closed her laptop and placed the final documents neatly inside a folder labeled personal accounts. The house felt peaceful again, but this time the calm felt different. It felt stronger. She walked into the kitchen and poured herself another cup of coffee before sitting by the window. For years she had believed marriage meant trusting someone to protect the same future you were building together. Owen had broken that trust in a single careless decision. But instead of destroying her stability, the betrayal had forced her to reclaim control of her own life. And for the first time in many years, Rachel felt something unexpected. She felt free.